Saturday, November 23rd, 1963. JFK escapes assassination. First Lady also okay. What's going on, you guys? It's your boy, Movie Boy Mike, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about the alternate timeline that Jake Epping causes in 11/22/63 by Stephen King. But before we get into it, please be sure to smash that like and subscribe button. It really goes a long way, especially when you're dealing with time travel. Now let's get right into it.
Was John F. Kennedy re-elected in 1964?
He was president 2 times before Wallace.
Wallace.
So after Jake saves JFK from being assassinated, takes a taxi back to Maine. And on his way back to Maine, he hears from the driver that there was a terrible earthquake in Los Angeles. From this earthquake, 7,000 people had died. Now that's twice the amount from 9/11. So at this moment in the story, Jake was constantly questioning if he had caused that earthquake by saving JFK, which he eventually finds out he did. On his way back to the portal, he ends up running into the green card man.
You shouldn't be here.
And then he tells Jake that he essentially destroyed the space-time continuum by ripping it up with his good buddy Al. And he said that Al started messing with the timeline by going back and buying meat from 1960 and bringing it back to the future, so on and so forth. The yellow card man tells Jake he really f***ed up this time. So Jake goes through the rabbit hole back to 2011, and he returns to a red sky, destroyed buildings, clouds of fog everywhere, not to mention it's in the dead of night. He asks an elderly woman walking across the street if the library is still open. She then screams at him to get away from her, and then he notices that her face is falling off as she's been suffering from radiation poisoning. He ends up finding his good friend Harry Dunning, the man he went to save before Kennedy, in Derry, Maine. He finds Harry Dunning getting jumped by a couple of thugs. Jake gets the thugs off of Harry Dunning, only to find out that the thugs themselves are suffering from radiation poisoning as well. Harry Dunning has no idea who Jake is, but invites him over to have a drink at his house. And in this alternate timeline, this version of Harry Dunning is in a wheelchair. So Jake finds out that Maine is now a part of Canada. Harry Dunning then tells him everything that he had caused from saving Kennedy. And it all started after he disappeared. Fair warning, history can be a little bit triggering for some people. So this is just fictional alternate history. Here's your warning. Anyways, here we go. Harry tells Jake that there was a worldwide search for this George Amberson. So Kennedy was re-elected in 1964 and was expected to win in a huge margin, but instead he won by less than 40 electoral college votes. Kennedy, early in his second term, offended the right wing so bad, along with the military class, by declaring Vietnam, quote, a lesser danger to our democracy than the racial inequalities here in America. He didn't completely withdraw troops from Vietnam, but he limited the capacity quite a lot. The great civil rights movement reforms of 1960 never happened. The bill was in the filibuster for 110 days. One of the members died on the Senate floor, becoming a right-wing hero. Before Kennedy gave up on pushing for the civil rights movement, these words haunted him for the rest of his life when he died in 1983. White America has filled its house with kindling. Now it will burn. Then began the race riots. While Kennedy was occupied with that, the North Vietnamese took over Saigon. Harry Dunning, being in the war, was then paralyzed from the waist down from a helicopter crash he endured while in Vietnam. Then Martin Luther King was assassinated by a rogue FBI agent by the name of Dwight Hawley. He claimed that he was under Hoover's orders. Chicago, where King was assassinated, went up in flames, and so did a dozen other American cities. Then George Wallace was elected president.
Segregation forever.
Wallace. George Wallace was president?
And what he did might shock you. Wallace firebombed Chicago into submission in 1969. Right after that, he told the Vietnamese that Saigon better be a free city or face the wrath of a nuclear bomb. They thought that Wallace was bluffing, but unfortunately, President Wallace was not bluffing. So President Wallace sent the city of Hanoi up in nuclear flames on August 9th, 1969. Wallace called it God's will. And ironically, Wallace became very popular after this. And Kennedy's approval ratings went down along with the country in this alternate timeline. In 1972, Wallace was shot and killed campaigning for re-election. Then, India and Pakistan went to war, nuclear war. Ronald Reagan became president. That roughly stayed the same, but the real twist in this alternate history is Clinton also became president, but not Bill. Bill died in 2004. Hillary became president. There was then a large explosion of a nuclear power plant, poisoning the area. Maine asked to be a part of Canada, as Maine then joined the Canadian body. So with 11/22/63, the one thing that always gets me when it comes to any kind of Stephen King book is the action scene is so small, it's built up so much, and then it ends up being really small. So when it comes to 11/22/63, I wish we had gotten to know this alternate history a little bit more, because it's very interesting to think what could have happened if Kennedy was saved. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about it, which is what makes this book such a masterpiece. When you think about what would happen if JFK wasn't a martyr, you lose the civil rights movement, you lose so many other branches in history. That's what makes this book so classic, I want to say. But truly, this is one of Stephen King's greatest written works. I love this book. I loved the show. I really wish the show was a little bit more true to the book, but truly, 11/22/63, Stephen King knows his stuff. I gotta hand it to Stephen King. He knows his history, and he knows his alternate history as well, I gotta say, folks. But regardless, I'm curious what you guys think. What do you guys think about this alternate history caused by Jake Epping in 11/22/63? Let me know in the comment section. And also, check out my other video on Jake Epping's trip to Derry, Maine, where I talk about how Jake runs into Beverly and Richie from the Losers Club. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button for more. I'll catch you guys next time.
Was that Movie Boy Mike? Oh boy, think that was Movie Boy.